Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps YouTube on Helps YouTube Live. Welcome to our YouTube channel today on, I guess we're in March 3rd, 2025. My name's Eric. I'm attorney for 46 years. Founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and elderly persons and disabled persons who have debt they can't afford to pay. Our most important message to seniors is that your Social Security, your VA benefits, your pension, um, other forms of retirement income are protected under federal law. It can't be taken from you. It's protected under federal law and different state laws. Okay? So your income is available for your needs. If you're faced with debt you can't afford to pay, you can choose to stop paying that. There's another federal law passed in 1978 called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That law regulates what debt collectors can do trying to collect from you. And one of the things that law provides, if a debt collector is sent a cease and desist letter, they can no longer call or send you demand letters anymore. That's what Helps does. The law provides that if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors cannot have to communicate with the attorney, not you. So when people enroll in Helps, they give us the creditors they don't want to hear from anymore. We send out a cease and desist letter, and the communication stops, and peace returns to your life, so you don't need to worry about this debt. Trust you can hear me okay. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat feature, and we'll address those questions. And then I also have things to talk about that I've written before. The title, I think, today is for I need help with credit card debt that I can no longer pay. Yeah, if you're faced with credit card debt that you can't pay, you don't have to go without food or medicine or needs to pay that debt. You can stop paying the debt, and you can be protected from collectors trying to harass you, okay, calling you on the phone or sending you demand letters. Now, it's possible that you could be sued for an old debt. However, you should understand that the law also provides since 2012 that twice the amount of your federal benefits, Social Security, deposited into a bank account is automatically protected from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. So twice the amount of federal benefits, including Social Security, is protected. So if you got 1,800 in Social Security, twice that would be 3,600 is protected from garnishment in your bank account, even if some of the money in the bank account was from some other source. So uh, um, okay. What information do I need in front of me when I call in to enroll? April asked. So when people call Helps, normally, they'll call us once, twice, three times, or multiple times before they decide to enroll. They can enroll in the beginning. Uh, really don't need any information in front of you. We're just going to ask you general questions. Um, what state you live in, what's your age, are you married or single, what your income is, where does it come from, approximately what you make. We don't need exact numbers. Are you buying your home or renting? What do you pay for rent if you're buying a home? How much do you think the home is worth? How much do you owe on it? Sometimes we'll look up the value of their home on the internet. We can do that really easy. Um, it just gives us an idea because different states have different protections, and we want to know what applies to you. Um, how much are you buying a car, your make and model? How much you owe on the car? What do you think it's worth? We can determine that too. Get a pretty good idea. Make sure there's no issues there, and there won't be. Um, and have you been sued? Who sued you? Have they had judgment? Where's it at? Do you owe any taxes? Do you have a student loan? And so, these are the basic questions we ask. So you don't really need anything in front of you, really. Um, and then if you decide to enroll, um, we read you what we do. If you decide to enroll, then we're going to read you some more, and we click a button. We enroll you right when you're on the phone with Helps so that you can be enrolled immediately. So nothing to worry about. Can they take my widescreen TV? No one's going to take anything from you, least a low. They're not going to take any property, any stuff you have inside your house. No, you don't need to worry about that. Okay? See, why is that? Well, okay, first off, I've explained how your income is protected, your Social Security, but then there's state laws that protect assets that you have from debt collectors. And it varies from state to state. However, we help people in all 50 states, and it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors that get a judgment to ever go after a person's personal property. And what's personal property? That's like stuff inside your home, or a lawnmower, or a computer, or a TV, or a bed, or a couch, dining room set, jewelry, whatever. They just don't do that for a lot of different reasons. Same thing as the home. If you're buying a home, which is a home on land on dirt, okay, there's state laws that have what's called homestead exemptions that protect equity in your home. Again, it varies from state to state. But even if you live in a state where you have equity in your home that's over and above the homestead exemption, as a practical matter, it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to go after people's homes for a lot of different reasons. They're happy to let it sit there and be a lien, hopefully to get paid someday. They may not for a sundry different reasons that we talk about here. It helps. So you're not going to need to worry. Um, so in preparing for YouTube Live, I always like Google stuff, and I I saw something about a judgment proof letter, and I typed that in, and someone had talked about a judgment proof letter. Okay, so what is that? Does it mean anything? Well, okay, first off, what does judgment proof mean? Judgment proof means that if someone were to sue you and get a judgment against you, there's no assets they can take from you. They can't take your Social Security. They can't take your pension. It's protected in your bank account. Maybe your other assets are protected. Uh, so you're termed as judgment proof, which means even if they get a judgment, they can't take anything from you. But is there such a thing as a judgment proof letter? Well, that is an invention. There's no formal judgment proof letter. I mean, that's a letter that a person could make up, and you could Google and find out about it. And it says you send it to a debt collector or a creditor saying, "Hey, I'm judgment proof." But there's no formal letter that you do that, and it doesn't give you any power, or doesn't. It's not required by the law, and I don't think, as a practice, debt collectors would give it any credence. They could still contact you. It's different than a cease and desist letter, which is a letter under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which requires that a debt collector stop communication with you by phone and mail if they get a cease and desist letter. It doesn't have to be sent by certified mail, just regular mail, but it does have to be signed to you and has to be sent in writing. Okay? But a judgment proof letter, all it says is, hey, my income and Social Security or whatever it is, and it's protected, and I don't have any other assets. Whether creditors give that any thought, I don't know. I don't think they do. I think a lot of times creditors try to collect from people, and seniors especially, if they know that, even if they think that are judgment proof, because they just want to get them to pay. They may not know about your lower income, and if they did, they didn't care. All they care about is getting paid. Um, so you should understand that creditors or debt collectors, they really only have to tell you that they're debt collectors, and everything that they learn can be used for that purpose. They don't have to give you advice on your legal rights, the fact that your Social Security is protected and your other assets are protected, and that there's a way that you can stop them from contacting you. They have no obligation to tell you that. They want to just try to get you to pay the debt, and that's their sole purpose. Okay? So they're not your friend. So sending a judgment proof letter, whatever that means, probably isn't going to do any good. You don't need to do it. We don't send them. We just tell debt collectors that, hey, our client can't afford to pay you, and we represent them now, and you're no longer to call them or send them man letters anymore. You have to communicate with us. And they do. They call us all day long. And we tell them, yeah, we represent this person. Their income is Social Security. It's protected. They can't afford to pay you. Have a good day. That's what we tell them. Okay. So this person writes in, I'm wondering, with all the changes the new administration is making, they're sure making a lot, aren't they? It's news every day. Will that affect the protection that currently is provided with Social Security deposits and homestead exempt income? And homestead exempted income on my home. Okay. First, but will the protect that's currently provided with Social? No, there's not going to be. There would never be any changes that would affect your Social Security being protected. And as far as your home equity you have in assets, including your home, that's all governed under state law, not federal law. And I have never seen a state ever lower the amount of protection on a person's assets, including equity in a homestead. They never do it. I mean, what they would do is raise it, make it higher. That happens a lot, but they don't lower it. And they raise it in, doesn't matter what state you have, blue state, red state, they raise it, okay? Because they don't want seniors' homes being taken out from under them or them being worried of being at risk, okay? So no, you shouldn't worry about politics and your Social Security, your pension being affected as far as them being able to take it or anything like that. No, it's not going to happen for a lot of different reasons. I've signed up with Helps. Do I even need to answer the phone if it's a creditor? Well, even if you're not signed up with Helps, you don't need to answer the phone if it's a creditor. No, you don't need to talk to them if you don't want to. Of course not. When you sign up with Helps, you're going to get us the debt collectors you owe money to, or the creditors. We're going to need the name and address and the account number. Okay, we don't need the balance. And then we're going to send a cease and desist letter to that debt collector. Our goal is to do it within 24 to 48 hours, and we're pretty good about it. You don't need to give them to us all at once. Sometimes people give us, several, and then maybe give us a few more a few days later, or then they find out about one later, a month later, a week later. It doesn't matter when you give them to us. And if you get a new notice from a new debt collector, then you can send that to us at any time. Remember, we represent you ongoing, not just one time, literally forever, so you don't have to deal with these debt collectors. And no, you don't have to answer the phone. Now, if you happen to answer the phone and you're a member of Helps, you just tell them, I'm represented by Helps nonprofit law firm. I can no longer, I don't want you to call me anymore. Here's their phone number. Give them a call. Leave me alone. Okay? And then hang up the phone. You don't need to engage in conversation with them. A lot of these creditors are pretty good at engaging in conversation and trying to scare and intimidate people. And we don't want you to be scared and intimidated by them. Just give them our number and hang up the phone. Now, if you happen to answer them and you realize it's a debt collector, you can hang up on them. You don't have to engage in conversation with them. You don't have to deal with it. Okay? I'm not worried about Social Security being taken, but they're cutting 7,000 positions in Social Security. I'm more worried about having to talk to someone in another country about my benefits. I don't think you're going to have any problem. So I've been an attorney now for 46 years. I don't want to get, we don't get involved with politics that helps, but it is my opinion that many of our government agencies, federal and state, may be overstaffed. Okay? And that maybe lowering the numbers might make things more efficient, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that's just an opinion. So this person writes in from Pennsylvania. Excuse me. I have a checking account with PNC Bank and a Visa credit card and a personal loan through PNC. I lost my job in January, looks like 2 years ago, and have been able to keep up with the payments. Can PNC take funds out of my checking account to pay past due payments? I only receive Social Security monthly payments of $1,600 and some odd dollars and no other income. No, unless you gave PNC permission to take money out of your bank account, which unlikely you did. Okay, there is a federal rule put in effect that tells banks that they cannot offset money from your checking account or from your bank account to which Social Security is deposited to pay a debt you owe the bank. They can't do that. Now, the only exception would be is if you had an NSF check or a bank charge, not a loan. Then they can offset money from your account to reimburse them for that NSF check charge that they paid on your behalf, or some other debt that the bank had paid on your behalf, but not a loan that you owe the bank and you don't pay it. Is the bank going to cut you off if you don't pay the debt? Probably not. Now, a credit union would, and a credit union does have a provision when you got the credit union account that tells the credit union that you give them authority to offset money out of your credit union account to pay a loan that you owe the credit union if you don't pay it. Now, they wouldn't do that the first month, but after several months they could do that. So we tell clients that Enrollment helps that owe monies to credit unions that they're not going to pay to change to a different bank other than a credit union. Now, the only exception for a bank would be Truist Bank, Truist Bank. They apparently subscribe to the same stationery store, so to speak, that credit unions do. And when you signed up with Truist Bank, you gave them authority to take money out of your account to pay a debt you owe Truist Bank, even if it was just Social Security going in there. But not the case with other banks. And then it's not the case with banks that I've seen to cut you off from their services if you don't pay them on a credit card or other type of loan. Okay, credit unions would do that. Okay, so you need to, if you're not going to pay your credit union, you want to go to a different bank. Okay. 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 This person writes in from Florida, age is 73. And this is notes from one of our paralegals. So when you call helps, we've got attorneys here, but also we have paralegals that are really well trained that are going to ask you some questions about your situation. They go through a list. They're basic questions. It's nothing too intrusive, but we need to know some basic things about you in order to be able to give you correct information. Once in a while, a client will call in and they'll say, "Well, I really don't want to answer that question." And the questions we ask are so basic. What we'll usually tell you then is we'll send you an email or say, you need to learn a little bit more about helps and what we do, because if you have any hesitancy in talking to us, it's probably because you don't know who we are and you maybe don't trust us, and you've got to learn about us. There's tons of information about helps. We've got many YouTube videos, a website that's really got a lot of information on it. So we're going to be able to help you other options for surviving with debt. She's been with Beyond Finance for about 2 years, paying almost $600 a month. That's a lot of money. And that was about a third of her income, if I remember, because I looked at the file. She did not know, and the paralegal put this in caps, did not know and was not told that her income is protected and has been uh, and has been from the beginning. In other words, when she signed up with Beyond Finance, they never told her, well, by the way, you don't need our help. Your income is protected. All your Social Security, your pension is protected. You don't need to pay this debt, and they can't do anything to you. No, they don't tell them that. If they told her that, she wouldn't have rolled with them, and they wouldn't have made money. Okay. She's been foregoing medicine, car repairs, and now has a risk of losing housing in a few months because she can't afford to pay it anymore. Pay what? $600 a month to Beyond Finance. She thought if she did not pay, she would lose her widow's pension and her Social Security. Not so. Your widow's pension is protected, And so is your Social Security under federal and state law. Social Security is protected by Social Security ever since 1935 when it came into being. And your pension is protected under a law passed in 1974 called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act. And almost all pensions are protected under ERISA. But if it isn't protected under ERISA, that is a federal law, then there's a state law that protects your pension. In 46 years of practice, I've never seen a senior lose their pension to garnishment. Won't happen, okay? She was told they could, quote, take everything from her. Beyond Finance lied to her if they told her that. They can't take everything. We discussed it. She became very emotional that she has lost so much money and time stuck in this program and feels betrayed. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're involved with a debt management company or debt settlement company now, learn more about helps. And if you're struggling, you don't need to be involved with them, because if they never told you that your income was protected when you enrolled with them, they didn't give you the complete truth. Okay? She says she's going to be canceling today, and we had a good phone hug. Okay, it's one of my paralegals. Because now she can afford things she was going without. She says, thank you. Thank you. She said she will be sounding out to anyone she can about helps and their rights so they don't get trapped like she did. And we sent her a bunch of emails, including how to cancel debt consolidation. And we sent her an email about debt and guilt. So I'm glad we were able to help this person. And that's what we do all day long. So if you've got any questions, you can always call us. Okay? Remember that. Eric, I just got served with a summons last night on a $1,000 credit card from a lawyer from Sandy, Utah. I've talked to my bank. I also work part-time because it's not enough Social Security that I make. You're probably not going to get correct information from your bank, but if you're getting Social Security, remember twice the amount of your Social Security deposit in your checking account is protected from garnishment, including if money came from another source. Now, it says here that you're working part-time. Well, there's a federal law that protects a minimum of $217.50 net per week in wages. That's $435 every 2 weeks, about $950 a month in net in wages after taxes and other withholdings, or what you net. $217.50 is protected. Some states protect more than that. Some states don't even permit a garnishment of wages. But I think in Utah it's $217.50. For example, Texas doesn't allow garnishment. California, it's like $600 or more a week in wages are protected. And it depends on the state. But if you're working part-time and you're working under $217.50, then there's no chances your wages could be garnished. Your payroll clerk, if they ever happen to find out where you work, they have to get a judgment. Then they have to know where you work, and that's not always easy. There's no place you can go to find out where a person's working. If you've only been working there a little while, the chance of them knowing where you work is minimal. But if they were to serve a writ of garnishment and your income is less than $217.50 a net a week, your payroll clerk will know to protect that amount. Okay? And then your bank account is protected automatically by your bank. Now, your bank manager isn't going to know that rule, but there's a department in the bank or credit union that deals with garnishments that understands that rule. So if you ask someone at your local branch, is my income protected twice the amount of my social? They're not going to say anything, or they're going to give you wrong information, or they're going to say, oh, we have to obey a court order, which isn't the case. Okay. U.S. Bank closed my account when I wasn't able to pay loans and credit cards from them, and now summoned me to go to court. Okay, I don't hear about banks normally closing people if they have a credit card or a bank account that they can't pay. Maybe U.S. Bank has started to do that, and maybe things will change. Maybe they will do that. I always tell people, if you owe your bank a lot of money and you feel uncomfortable about it, and you're not going to pay them, you can always choose to change your bank account. Okay, but the rule is they cannot take money out of your account if the only money that's going in there is Social Security to pay a debt that you owe the bank. And in the past, it hasn't been their practice to close people out of the account. Not banks anyway. But maybe U.S. banks starting to do that. I don't know. I don't. You know, things may change. They could change it for different other reasons. If you have a bunch of NSF checks or things like that, they might choose to, you know. Yeah, if you do get sued and you're a member of HELPS, we need a copy of the lawsuit. Not everything necessarily, but at least the first 2 to 3 or 4 pages. We need the case number and the name and address of the attorney that sued you. That usually will be on the first several pages, so that we can send a letter to that attorney, let him know that your income is protected. You're not going to do anything. We understand they're going to get a judgment, reminding them of the protected nature of your bank account, even though we really don't need to do that because your bank protects that automatically. Okay? And then we're going to call you, let you know why you don't need to worry. We're going to send you an email with lots of links to videos and articles explaining how your income is protected and you don't need to worry about a lawsuit and the judgment. My neighbor is in a wheelchair and not very mobile. Is it a big problem if I'm asked to appear in court for debt but doesn't attend? Well, you shouldn't have to go to court. You know, if they sue you and get a judgment, you don't do anything, they're just going to get a judgment. It's possible that there could be some court proceedings after a judgment that you're asked to come into court. That's not very often. When that happens to our client, we always reach out to the attorney that did that and letting them know, reminding them that our client's income is protected. So it's kind of a waste of our time to go there. And sometimes we'll contact the court and let them know that our client physically isn't able to go there. Now, we don't represent people in court, but we facilitate communication with the court to let them know about clients' disabilities if that's the case. But shouldn't be an issue. Robert asks, do all banks definitely abide by the rule twice the amount of your Social Security is protected is your checking account, assuming you have your Social Security directly deposited? Yeah, they do. That rule has been in effect since 2012. That was the year HELPS was started. Before that, I filed 30 or 40,000 bankruptcies. HELPS was founded because a lot of seniors simply couldn't afford to file bankruptcy and really didn't need to file bankruptcy. But we started, it happened to be the same year when a federal rule went into effect that instructed banks to protect twice the amount of Social Security. Yes, it did take a while for that rule to come into effect, okay, for different reasons. And we have a history of letters that we've had to send to banks and even detailing that rule. But banks are pretty much on board with that nowadays. Even credit unions are. Although once in a rare occasion, I'll hear a client or someone will call us where they had a problem with their credit union. But not very often. And if it is, we can get it straightened out. So, yeah, they do. But I've yet to meet a bank manager that understands that law or that rule. Definitely not a teller. Okay, so if you go to your bank manager and says, I heard this attorney on the internet say that twice my amount of Social Security, my Social Security gets garnished, are they going to take it? You may get an answer from the bank manager that says, well, I don't know. Or he might say, oh, if we get a court order. Um, Okay, Betty Ann says, I received a default final judgment letter from a judge that states that the sum due is on a credit card. And in order to complete Florida small claims rules form, fact information sheet. Okay, so what's a fact information sheet if you're in Florida? Okay, it's kind of famous. Okay, some states have proceedings that a judgment creditor can send to a person to try to collect a debt. And the fact information sheet is that. We have an email that we'll send to our clients that talked about a fact information sheet. It's, 3 or 4 pages long and has a bunch of questions on it. 90% of them won't apply to you. Uh, but the fact information sheet, nowhere does it tell a senior what their financial rights are, the fact that your income is protected, but it just asks a bunch of questions like, are you buying a home? How much you owe on it? Do you have a car? You know, where you bank? Things like that. Um, if a senior didn't know their rights and they got that fact information sheet, Betty Ann, they could be intimidated to calling the attorney that sued them and got a judgment and making arrangements to make payments because I don't want to tell them my kids' names and addresses and phone numbers. I don't think you have to do that anyway. That form has that on there. Uh, None of our clients have ever filled that out, and there's never been an issue. Why do they need your kids' names and addresses and phone numbers? It doesn't. It just scares people. Someone years ago, when they developed this form, some clerk somewhere, it got approved, and now it gets sent out. And I'm sure the debt collector attorneys love it because they get people to call them on the phone because they get that form and they're scared, thinking, "Oh no, I better make arrangements to pay that, or this and that, or the other thing's going to happen to them." And when people call with helps, we'll help them with the form. It's basic. It's pretty simple. Like I said, maybe the majority of the questions are not applicable. NA, they don't apply to you. Is a fact information sheet the same as a debtor's exam? No. I try not to mention debtor's exams because when I say that, it sounds really scary, but it doesn't really happen. Very rare. And if a debtor's exam is an order signed by a judge asking you to come into court at a certain date and time to answer questions about your assets. And, on those rare occasions when our client has a judgment against him, an attorney asks for a debtor's exam, we always reach out to the attorney. And 19 out of 20 times we're able to resolve that. The attorney will say, yeah, I guess they don't need to come. Okay, doesn't make sense. Um, but even if you were required to come, nothing to worry about. You're judgment proof. Your income's protected. But I don't like to talk about it because it's such a rare issue that just doesn't happen, and we can help with it. Okay. So this person contacts us from Ohio. It says, do I have to fill out the fact information sheet and return it? I cannot. When our clients get a fact information sheet, yeah, we always encourage them to fill it out and return it because there's nothing to hide. If you don't do it, then they could follow up with some more. But the sooner they get the information there, the attorney on their side, as soon as he realizes that all your income is protected and your assets are safe, then he doesn't have to do anything. But if he didn't get it, he could think, well, maybe this person's hiding something from me and I need to follow up with some more paperwork. Okay? Your bank won't be notified that there's a judgment against you. What your bank would be, if a creditor knew where you bank and they wanted to, they could file a writ of garnishment on your bank account, just telling the bank if they're holding any money for you or assets, then they need to turn it over. But once again, under that rule passed in 2012, twice the amount of your federal benefit deposited in your checking account or your bank account is automatically protected from garnishment. So this person contacts us from Ohio and they say, I'm almost 72 years old. I've known I would have to work for the rest of my life for a long time. I'm now having health issues and have to quit work. I have several $1,000s in credit card debt and several other small loans. I feel really bad that I have to stop paying these bills. And it causes me depression. My anxiety about bills is horrible, which is why the person has a payee, someone who helps handle their finances. So they got really high anxiety about bills. I need help with this situation. In addition, I think the payee will not stop paying the bills at my request. We've dealt with this before, and I've talked to payees and let them know you don't need to pay this person's debt. Their income is Social Security and a pension. It's protected. And if the payer continues to doing that, you need to do something about it. You can go to court and you can ask to have the payee canceled. They don't need to pay your debt. Okay, let me go on. Also, bills that I have to pay for, like car insurance and groceries. Yeah, you want to pay those, of course. Car insurance if you're going to keep driving. And they only get $900, $100 a week for whatever money I need. That is why I have to work. Are you willing to help me? Yes. You bet we're going to help him. We'll help this person. This person calls back and he says, upset because she really doesn't want to default on her debt. Well, okay, a lot of a, a lot of our clients don't want to default on their debt. They want to pay their debt. They don't intentionally go into debt with the idea that they're not going to be able to pay it, but life happens such that they just can't afford to do it. Congress protected your income for a reason. They wanted you to have it to pay for your medicine and your food and your heat and your needs. You've got to have a coat. You got to have heat. Got to have air conditioning when it's necessary. So, she has a representative payee and needs to speak with them about okay, paying. Uh, she will get the representative payee to speed up intentions to default and call us back once that's taken care of. We're happy to talk with you and your representative payee together and let them know. A lot of these representative payees don't understand that, if a person doesn't pay their debt, that the rest of their money income is protected. Okay? They get $200 from her ex-husband to help her out. Well, that's alimony. That is protected too. So, we'll help. We're always willing to do a conference call with a client or someone, a potential client, and someone like a child, a friend, or someone that helps them or a payee, and talk to them about their situation. We don't give legal advice, we give legal information. And the information we give, for seniors that are struggling financially is critical because a lot of times they don't hear it at other places. You know, a debt collector isn't going to tell you your income is safe. A debt management company isn't going to tell you that your income is protected because they want you to sign up with them and maybe put you in utter poverty paying debts you can't afford to pay. They're not going to tell you the truth, with few exceptions. No. No, you're going to be fine. Your income's protected. What can a donor do when the bank shuts down their account just because they only get Social Security when a bank closes? I'm really not sure about your question. I mean, you can always get another bank account somewhere else, and the only problem you'd have if you don't get a bank account is if usable situation, you can get your Social Security loaded on a debit card called a Direct Express card, and there's no fee for that, and there's no risk of having an NSF check, and you can use Direct Express cards to pay about almost any bill nowadays. I guess the only exception would be a rent bill, but then I think even that's changing. Companies are accepting debit cards now pretty much universally. Okay. I'm just like you, always worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. Laugh out loud, it's my nature. Yeah. So that's one reason Helps is here. Helps was really started specifically to help seniors that were really worriers and always scared. It's really easy for me to tell someone, hey, your income's protected, they can't do anything, but When you get the demand letters and the calls and stuff and lawsuits and stuff, yeah, it can get scary. And so with helps, you always have someone to call to be able to tell you why you don't need to worry and to reassure you. And that's what we tell our clients. You can call us as often as you need to. And we're going to go over this stuff with you because I don't want you to worry. And I've told this many times. My pet peeve if someone calls and says, "Oh, I know you're really worried. You're really busy." That helps. And I didn't want to bother you, but I've been really worried. I've been staying up nights worried about this. No, if you're worried, you give us a call. Okay? It doesn't matter. That's what we want to hear. Want to hear you. I'm told to change. You'd be surprised. I've talked to a number of people that have called us, time after time after time, and then all of a sudden the calls disappear, and I figure it finally got through. They finally realized they don't have to. Maybe you pick something else to worry about. I'm still paying, but I don't know how much longer I can keep it up. You know, Sometimes I use a comparison. It's like you're digging a hole, and you dig the hole and you throw the dirt out, and finally the hole gets so deep that you can't throw it out anymore, and it starts coming down in the hole. And some of our clients, some people that call us they're at that point. They've been using the credit cards to pay the debt, or the credit card balances amounted to them such an amount that they can't make the payment and still have enough to live on. It just starts coming down the interest and start using that money to pay for your needs, your food and your medicine. Okay, you don't need to wait. Okay, you do it sooner than later. Well, you can do that. You can keep paying but you don't need to. Sometimes I'll talk to couples, husband and wife, that have a lot of debt, and I'll suggest, maybe, you know, the husband might be, let's say his husband's 78 and the wife is 67, 69, 70, younger. The husband's going to pass away before the wife. Maybe if you stop paying the debt, and if you happen to have a little extra money, you can protect that money for your wife so when you're gone, it'll be a little bit easier on her. Okay? We always, when we talk to new clients, we're always going to ask them, are you married or single? How old is the husband? How old are you? How old is the wife? Whatever. Because we need to know that kind of information to be able to, our first mission is to protect you from the debt collectors hounding you, harassing you. Our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. So we always want to know, you know, one of the things we think about is if husbands and wives don't die at the same time, one dies before the other, what money is going to be available for the surviving spouse? Is there anything we can do now to make that easier on the surviving spouse who's younger than the other spouse is probably going to pass on before she does or he does? Okay? That's what we do. Okay. This person contacted us from Georgia. I've contacted you a few weeks ago and I appreciate your initial information packet. Sometimes people we have an information packet we send in the mail, but you know, you can learn so much more about helps by looking at our YouTube video or looking at our website. Everything in that packet is on our website and our YouTube videos ad infinitum. You can spend hours on our website. Spend hours looking at YouTube videos. So this little packet, just a few pages of information. But okay, I've watched a few of your videos, but not seen an answer to the following question that is concerning me. I'm 65. I understand now about how protections for senior citizens. Good. My concern is for my spouse. I'm 65. I understand now about the My spouse is 60 years old and cannot work due to physical health issues. They filed for disability twice, but haven't received. Uh, they haven't been approved. Okay, so they're not able to get Social Security yet. They're 60 years old. Um, the spouse has several credit cards, which they applied for, and I have to retire during my debt. Do I have to continue making my wife's credit card debt? Seemed like we had this same issue come up a few weeks ago, but anyway, a few days ago. Uh, can debtors come after my wife for these debts, despite her lack of employment? Well, they could sue her till they're blue in their face. If she doesn't have any income, there's nothing to do to collect from her. So they could, yeah, you know. And then he goes on. He goes. Also, I've heard, and if he enrolls in helps, or if the spouse enrolls in helps, we can enroll the other spouse in helps, even if they're not working. So that the creditors can't call or harass her. That person could get sued, but nothing can be collected from that spouse because they don't have any income. Okay? And if that spouse is on the income with the husband who got Social Security, twice the amount is protected. So they go on to ask. Also, I've heard differing information regarding what source of income can be in your bank account up to 2 times the limit. Disability and pension funds received from the government. Eric has mentioned that it doesn't matter what the source of the income are, but I've read elsewhere that the income within 2 times the limit cannot include anything but government benefits. Wrong. The rule is that twice the amount of your government benefits, which would be Social Security, VA benefit, federal post office, federal pension, railroad worker, those are all federal benefits. Twice that sum is automatically protected, regardless of what other funds are in there in that account. If it came from another source, as long as it's not more than the amount you get each month from a federal source doesn't exceed twice that monthly amount, then any other money in there is protected automatically. Okay? You can email me, call me, or text me and leave a message about your answer. As I'm off sleeping during the day due to working night. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I can help this person. Yeah, twice the amount is protected regardless of what other funds are in there. If you got a scratch ticket and you won $1,000, as long as the balance and put it in your bank account is protected. As long as the balance in your bank account is less than twice the amount. If kids gave you some money or got money from another source, yeah, you don't need to worry. So if you are a worrywart, don't feel bad. That's why helps is here. And I don't say that disparaging. I just understand that it's easy to worry about these things. But I'm here to tell you when you don't need to worry. Okay. This person, I received a phone call today and was unable to answer. What are your hours so I know when I can call back? Uh, if you live on the East Coast, I think you can reach us from about 9 o'clock till almost 8 o'clock at night. If you leave on the West Coast, you can hear from us from about 6 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock. And then, Mountain Time, what would it be? About 7 o'clock till 6 o'clock. Um, yeah, so Okay. This person contacted us from Arizona. They get Social Security and they have about 30,000 in credit card debt. No assets, pretty much. This is the paralegal. Read what we do, answered questions, and this was back in February, early February. Called again. She read the emails and watched some more YouTube videos. She wants to keep 2 credit cards, but will send us medical bills and other debts that she can't afford to pay. She wants to know how to get us the information. All we need is the name, address, and account number. You can text it, fax it, email it, mail it to us, however you want. Then she called again in February, near the end of the month. Want to know about having multiple cards with the same bank. Can she stop paying on one but keep the other? No. See, if you have a card with a bank and you don't pay one and want to keep the other one, the bank's going to cut both cards off. You know, it would be unusual that they wouldn't do that. Okay. That's why, for example, like Synchrony Bank, I don't know if there even is a local Synchrony Bank branch, but Synchrony Bank just banks they back a lot of different department store credit cards. I think they may even have PayPal or even Amazon, maybe Synchrony Bank. Okay, they're pretty much a bank that does nothing but credit cards. So if you have one Synchrony Bank card you're not going to pay, then they're going to cut off the other ones, even if you're current on them or don't know anything on them, own anything on them. Okay. Okay. Peter asks, does the designation of being judgment proof with only Social Security as income transfer to other potential lawsuits that may be of financial nature? Well, I talked about that at the beginning, uh, Peter. Judgment proof is not a magic word. What it means is that your income and your assets can't be taken from you. And so even if someone were to sue you and get a judgment, you're judgment proof. And to tell a creditor that I'm judgment proof doesn't mean that they still can't try to collect from you. It doesn't mean that they have to stop contacting you. It's just you're telling them that information. But my experience, it doesn't have that any law behind it, whereas a cease and desist letter does. When we send a letter to a debt collector saying we represent a person and if they're not to contact you, they know under the law they cannot communicate with you. But a judgment proof letter doesn't mean anything to a creditor, really. You know, it's kind of nice to send a letter maybe, but it doesn't mean anything. They don't do anything about it. If I owe income taxes, does Social Security protection apply? Well, if you owe state income tax, it does. Okay. A state can't garnish your Social Security, and if they were to garnish your bank account, just like a credit card is protected by twice the amount, so is your bank account protected from a state tax collector. Now, if you owe the IRS theoretically could garnish or do an offset, they call it, of 15% of your Social Security that you owe to the IRS. But will they do that? Normally not. If they were to do it, you could apply for what's called currently not collectible status, CNC status. But a lot of times, I think IRS don't go after seniors that are getting Social Security to do an offset of their Social Security because they have access to your financial information. They can tell, hey, this person really can't afford to pay us. They could get on currently not collectible status. We're not going to waste the postage. Or they'll send a letter, but they're not going to follow up with doing anything formal. And if they were to offset your Social Security, they have to give you 60 days notice before they start doing that. That gives you time to contact them and And often if you're on the, you can get it on the phone. You can get currently not collectible status on the phone. We have an email that explains that in detail what to do. Yeah, we don't normally have any unhappy helps clients. They're happy to find us. Um, and we just got a couple minutes here to go. So this person contacts us from Utah. Disabled veteran, 62. I got to put my glasses on. One of our paralegals, we sent him a lot of information. Um, yeah. So if your Social Security is protected, so are your VA benefits. And this person had quite a few credit card debt. They weren't aware that it was protected. They were scared. They were paying it. They contacted us. We let them know that their VA benefits were protected, um, and they could stop paying it. And they enrolled in helps, and they're going to give us the credit cards, and they're going to be happy. Okay, so we've come to an end of the day, Monday, and thanks for participating. Hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. That way you get notifications, when we have new videos come out. All that kind of helps the algorithm so that when seniors type in information on the internet to find out, or on YouTube to learn more about what their rights are, they're going to find our website. And they're not going to get this information from other sources. It's difficult for seniors to find out their rights, but we have it right here. hmm So I can maintain my Capital One, but probably not my Discover. Maybe not. I think Capital One got bought out by Discover, or vice versa. And so if you don't pay Capital One, they're probably going to cut your Discover off. If you don't pay Discover, they're probably going to cut the Capital One off. Okay? You can always try it. Okay? But Capital One and Discover, I think, are owned by the same company now. So have a good day, and I will talk to you tomorrow, same time. God bless. Call us if you have any questions. Don't want you to worry. Okay?